When I was little, someone in our village died an unnatural death. My whole family went to help out, and I was the only one left at home. Just as it was getting dark, I heard something at the gate. I ran into the yard and saw Kyle standing there. His face was ashen, his back hunched, and his body dripping wet like he'd just crawled out of the river. I asked, "Grandpa Kyle, what's going on?" Kyle didn't say a word. He just stood outside the gate staring at me. I raised my voice and asked again, "Grandpa Kyle, what's wrong?" Kyle opened his mouth, and I could see his tongue. It was stiff, and he spoke slowly. Lend me 3 sticks of incense," I said. "Grandpa Kyle, what do you need incense for?" His eyes twitched, and he stiffly said, "Your grandpa said to lend them, told me to come get them." I nodded. "Okay, I'll go get them." I ran to the west room, grabbed 3 sticks of incense, and ran back to the gate. I handed the incense to Kyle. The moment he saw them, he visibly perked up. His once cloudy eyes flashed with an eerie light. A gurgling sound came from his throat, like he was swallowing hard. Kyle reached out and took the incense. Right in front of me, he shoved them into his mouth and started chewing. Crunch, crunch. The sound was like bones being crushed. It made my hair stand on end. I instinctively took 2 steps back. I'd heard the village elders say that incense is for the living to offer and the dead to consume. Could it be Kyle was already dead? I started backing away slowly. Kyle finished eating the incense and then lifted his foot, trying to step over the threshold. But no matter how many times he tried, he couldn't cross it. His foot kept banging into the threshold with a loud thud, 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 thud. It was so quiet outside that the noise echoed painfully in the dark. I remembered the elders saying that the living can see the threshold, but the dead can't. They're blocked by it. I said, "Grandpa, Kyle, my grandpa's not home right now. Maybe you should go back." Kyle didn't seem to hear me. He kept trying, again and again, but still couldn't step inside. He started getting agitated. His face looked worse. His eyes turned blood red, and the banging grew louder and more violent. Thud, 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 thud. I was really afraid he'd break the threshold. Kyle seemed numb to pain, kicking with all his strength. He muttered to himself, "Break the threshold, then I can go in." His words made my skin crawl. He must have noticed I was scared, because he gave me a wide, creepy grin. I was terrified. I shouted, "Grandpa! Grandma!" No one answered. All the neighbors had gone to help out too. Suddenly, there was a loud bang. The threshold to our house was smashed apart. Kyle hunched over and stepped into the yard. His smile grew wider, eyes locked onto me, throat moving like he was swallowing again. I quickly climbed up the wall and jumped into our neighbor Larry's yard. Larry had a big black dog, usually super aggressive. But tonight, when it saw Kyle, it didn't bark at all, just tucked its tail and hid in its kennel. I ran around Larry's yard like crazy, terrified Kyle might chase me. When I reached the gate and looked back, I saw Kyle was really following me, his eyes locked onto mine, that same horrifying grin on his face. I ran with everything I had, not daring to look back again. I knew that when someone died tragically in the village, they'd be buried out back in the mountain. I ran straight for the back hill, and finally, at the foot of the hill, I ran into the villagers. My grandpa pushed through the crowd and scooped me up. "Luke, what happened?" he asked. I was crying. "Kyle's chasing me." The moment I said it, everyone froze. My grandpa said, "That's impossible. Kyle was just buried." I cried. "It's true." As soon as the words left my mouth, Tyler spoke up. "Luke, you must be mistaken. Grandpa Kyle was just buried. Tyler was Kyle's son and known in the village for being especially filial. I said, "I'm not wrong." He even borrowed 3 sticks of incense from me and ate them in front of me. He kicked down our threshold too. As soon as I said that, everyone stared wide-eyed, fear written all over their faces. Grandpa grabbed my arm tightly. "Luke, you better not be lying about this," he said. I insisted. "I'm not lying." Grandpa turned to Tyler. "Tyler, are you sure your father is really in that coffin?" Tyler's face twisted. He stammered. "Yeah, of course he is." Grandpa narrowed his eyes. "Tyler, I know you're a good son. You don't want to believe he's gone. But he is. Keeping him around like this isn't doing him any favors." Tyler's face darkened. My dad was always in good health. He should have lived to 70 or 80. That river at the edge of the village isn't even deep. He could swim. How'd he drown in something like that? Grandpa frowned. "What are you saying, Tyler? Even a shallow river can drown someone. Your father fell off the bridge head first, hit a rock, passed out, and that's why he drowned." Tyler sneered. "Was it really an accident? Or did someone push him? Who can say?" The second he said that, Grandpa's expression changed. "Tyler, how could you say something so heartless? John and I saw it with our own eyes." "Old John pushed through the crowd too." He pointed at Tyler. "Your dad was my own brother, and you think I'd lie about that? You ungrateful brat." Tyler just curled his lip and stayed silent. Grandpa asked again, face stark as thunder. "Tyler, is your father really in that coffin?" Tyler's eyes darted. He looked guilty. "Yes, he's in there. For real," John said. "I don't believe it." John turned to Grandpa. "Brother, this is serious. If you ask me, we should open the coffin and see if Kyle's really inside." The moment he said that, Tyler's face changed. He grabbed a shovel and blocked John. "My dad was just buried. Anyone touches his grave, I'll kill them." As he said that, Tyler shot a look at someone in the crowd. It was Evan, his younger brother, who walked with a bit of a limp. Evan gave a slight nod and slipped away. No one knew where he went. John pointed at his own neck. "You little bastard. Go ahead and chop right here if you've got the guts." Tyler's eyes turned blood red. "Old bastard, you think I won't?" Grandpa shoved John back and said, "Tyler, a walking corpse feeds on blood. You can't control it. Your dad was a good man when he was alive. He's dead now. Let him rest. There's an old legend in our village. Those who die unjustly and aren't properly buried become walking corpses that drink human blood." Tyler hesitated, then shouted, "What walking corpse? My dad was buried. Stop talking nonsense." John said, "I don't care. I'm opening the coffin." John turned to the villagers. "If there's a walking corpse in our village, none of us are safe." The moment he said that, people started glancing at each other, fear in their eyes. Everyone backed the idea of opening the coffin. Tyler stomped his feet. "My dad died wrongfully. You open that coffin. Don't blame him if he comes back as a vengeful ghost. Digging up a fresh grave is a taboo in the village. No one dared do it lightly." Just then, there was a loud clap of thunder. The sky darkened, heavy with rain. I saw Evan return and slip back into the crowd. He shouted, "Enough already. If you ask me, let's go to Luke's house and check if the threshold is still there." As soon as Evan finished speaking, Tyler chimed in, "That's a good idea. Let's all go have a look." The villagers exchanged glances and murmured among themselves, all agreeing it was a good plan. My grandpa said, "All right, let's go check my place. Everyone be careful." After he spoke, my grandpa picked me up and the villagers followed us to our house, some of them carrying shovels. When we got there, the threshold at the gate was still intact. Seeing it, the villagers all let out a sigh of relief. Tyler sneered, "Uncle, see? The threshold's still there." Luke was lying, I said. No, I wasn't lying. Old John said, "Luke's only 5. He's probably just had a nightmare and scared himself. If everything's fine, let's all head home." After John waved his hand, the villagers began to disperse. As Tyler was leaving, he shot John a sideways glance and said, "Uncle John, you better be careful. Watch out for my dad tonight." With that, Tyler left with Evan. John stomped his foot in anger and cursed Tyler as a brat. After a few curses, he left. Only a few of us were left in the yard. My grandma stroked my head and asked, "Luke, did you have a bad dream?" I said, "No, I really saw Kyle. He even asked me for 3 sticks of incense." Grandma didn't believe me. She turned to Grandpa and asked, "Old man, what are you looking at?" Grandpa was crouched by the threshold, staring at it in a daze. His expression looked troubled. "Nothing," he said. Grandma said, "It's getting late. Let's go inside and get some sleep." So we all went inside. The moment we did, thunder rumbled and rain began to pour outside. Grandma glanced out into the yard and said, "Rainy nights are heavy with resentment. Once the weather clears, I'll take Luke to visit Aaron. This kid's been scared by nightmares." Grandpa sat silently on the kang, puffing on his pipe. Grandma turned off the light and I closed my eyes to sleep. In the middle of the night, I woke up, needing to pee. Just as I was about to open my eyes, I heard Grandma whisper, "Old man, I counted. We really are missing 3 sticks of incense." Grandpa sighed. Luke wasn't lying. Kyle did come here. That threshold we saw during the day, it was new. Grandma whispered, "We never mistreated Kyle when he was alive. Our families never had bad blood. Why would he come after us?" Grandpa didn't respond. Grandma continued, "Let's run. Let's go to town." Grandpa said, "We can't run. Once he's got his eyes on us, we'll never escape." Grandma asked, "Then what do we do?" Right as she said that, I heard the sound of someone kicking the threshold. Thud, thud, thud. I jolted awake and scrambled into Grandma's arms. She covered my mouth, signaling me to stay quiet. The kicking grew louder and louder. Thud, thud, thud. By the moonlight, I peeked out the window and saw a shadow at the gate. From the shape, it looked just like Kyle. Suddenly, there was a loud bang. The threshold was kicked down. Kyle hunched over and stepped into the yard. In the moonlight, I saw his pale, lifeless face. His eyes were dull, his mouth hung open, smeared with blood. He walked slowly and stiffly. Grandma whispered, "Old man, what do we do?" Grandpa furrowed his brows, pulled the bed curtain shut, and whispered, "Don't make a sound." The moment he finished, Kyle's voice came from outside. "Brother, something terrible happened. Someone died in the village. Come out, quick." Kyle's voice was low and gravelly, with strange growling sounds from his throat, like a ghost wailing. Grandma and Grandpa exchanged a fearful glance. Kyle didn't leave. Seeing Grandpa remain silent, Kyle spoke again. "Brother, hurry. Someone died in the village. Let's go help." Grandma frowned and said, "Kyle, your brother's not home. You go help first." No sooner had she spoken than Grandpa glared at her and whispered, "Are you trying to get yourself killed?" "Don't talk to the dead," Grandma said helplessly. "I was trying to trick him into leaving." Just then, a creepy laugh came from outside. Kyle said, "I saw him go inside with my own eyes. Don't try to fool me. Bring him out. John's waiting at the gate." His words made my skin crawl. Grandpa's expression turned grim. "Kyle, you and John go first. I'll catch up in a bit." Hearing Grandpa's voice, Kyle suddenly started pounding on the door. Bam, bam, bam. The wooden door shook under the force. A scratching noise came next, long, sharp fingernails scraping the door. It was piercing. Grandpa broke into a sweat, his face twitching uncontrollably. Grandma asked, "Old man, what's Kyle going crazy for?" Grandpa panicked. "I don't know." Just as he said that, there was a huge crash. The wooden door burst open. A cold wind blew in. I turned toward the entrance and saw Kyle standing there, hunched, grinning at Grandpa. He lifted his foot to enter but was stopped by the threshold. Before bed, Grandpa had reinforced and raised the threshold of the east room. Kyle kicked it, producing loud bangs. Blood tears streamed from the corners of his eyes. He stared at Grandpa and said, "Brother, why can't I get in your house? Come out, John's waiting." I couldn't look at Kyle anymore. I shut my eyes and curled up in Grandma's arms. I didn't know how long it was before I heard a rooster crow. Morning had come. The knocking had stopped. Grandpa stood at the door for a long time, only stepping outside when he was sure Kyle was gone. The wooden door was covered in deep scratch marks. At the gate, the threshold had been kicked off again, and a branch of Chinese scholar tree hung from the gate. Grandpa took it down, his face dark. Branches from this tree attract ghosts. Someone's trying to harm us. They lured Kyle here on purpose. As soon as he said that, Larry rushed into the yard. "Uncle, something happened. John's dead." Grandpa froze for a few seconds. "What? John's dead?" Larry said. "And it's not normal," Grandpa said. "Let's go quick." We rushed to John's house. His yard was already crowded with villagers. John's body lay on a wooden plank, covered with a white cloth. Tyler and Evan were wailing over him, crying loudly, but there weren't any tears. Tyler sobbed. "Uncle John, what a tragic death. Don't worry, I'll get you the finest coffin and burn plenty of paper money so you can live comfortably on the other side." John had raised over a dozen goats and 7 or 8 pigs. Life was good, but he had no children. According to village rules, all his valuables now belonged to Tyler and Evan. When Kyle died, Tyler hadn't even sprung for a decent coffin. Grandpa frowned. "John was murdered." The moment he said that, the villagers exchanged horrified glances. Tyler's eyes flicked strangely. He glanced around slyly and said, "Uncle John died under strange circumstances. Probably a vengeful ghost got him." Grandpa's face darkened. John was killed by a person. He walked to the gate and picked up a Chinese scholar tree branch. "This tree draws ghosts. Someone deliberately placed it at John's door to summon a ghost and get him killed." Grandpa was furious. He threw the Chinese scholar tree branch to the ground. The villagers all gasped, exchanging uneasy glances. Tyler and Evan looked at each other. Evan picked up the branch and said, "Who's this vicious, trying to get Uncle John killed?" Grandpa's face was dark. He said, "Last night, Kyle came into my yard. Luckily, I'd raised the threshold, so he couldn't come inside. This morning, I found a Chinese scholar tree branch at the gate. Tyler, Evan, you bastards are trying to get the whole village killed." Tyler froze for a few seconds. "Uncle, stop talking nonsense. My dad was buried. How could he go to your house?" Evan echoed, "Exactly. Our dad's been buried. Stop making things up." Grandpa's voice was cold. "Open the coffin," Tyler said. "No way. If anyone dares dig up my father's grave, I'll fight them to the death," Evan shouted. "No way." Grandpa looked around at the people in the yard. They all looked at one another uncertainly. Then Larry pushed through the crowd and said, "John died a strange death. That means something's wrong in the village. This thing drinks blood. If we don't kill it, we're all doomed. I believe Uncle Jose. I support opening the coffin." As soon as Larry said that, others chimed in. Yeah, the village isn't safe. We'll all be in trouble. Open the coffin. The crowd all supported it and started shouting about heading to the back mountain. Tyler was so angry, he stomped his foot and yelled, "My dad's 7-day ritual isn't even over, and you dare dig up his grave. Aren't you afraid something bad will happen?" Grandpa said, "If something happens, I'll take responsibility. We have to get to the bottom of this living dead business." With that, he headed toward the back mountain, and the villagers followed. Tyler and Evan tried to stop them, but they couldn't hold back the crowd. Soon they arrived at the back mountain. Kyle's tombstone was made of wood, and it had split clean down the middle like it had been struck by lightning. Tyler stared at Grandpa and said, "Old Jose, you better think twice. Digging up a grave is a curse you'll end your bloodline. You really dare dig up my dad's grave?" Grandpa said, "The coffin's empty. What wouldn't I dare?" Then he picked up a shovel and started digging. The villagers all helped. Tyler and Evan tried to stop them but were pulled back. Before long, they reached the coffin. The coffin was pitch black and radiated an evil aura. The villagers all stared at it. 8 iron nails were hammered into the lid. Grandpa pried it open with an axe and called over 2 young men to lift the lid. Inside it was empty. Kyle wasn't there. Tyler and Evan collapsed to the ground like deflated balloons. Grandpa's face was dark. "Where's Kyle?" Tyler still tried to argue. "I don't know." "We really buried him," Grandpa snapped. "This thing is dangerous. While it's still daylight and it fears the sun, we need to catch it and burn it. Once night falls, no one will be able to stop it. Now talk." Tyler's eyes flickered. "Uncle, I really don't know what's going on. Evan and I put Dad in the coffin with our own hands. I don't know how he disappeared." Grandpa glared at him and kicked him. "Tyler, tell the truth, it's almost dark." Tyler squinted. "Uncle, you can beat me to death, but I really don't know where my dad is. I'm just as confused. Who stole his body?" The moment he said that, Larry shouted, face dark, "If you two don't tell the truth, we'll throw you in this coffin and bury you alive." Larry had just said that when Evan's knees buckled. He was about to speak when Tyler kicked him. Tyler looked at Larry and said, "Go ahead. Bury us alive. I'm not afraid to die." Tyler was going all in. Larry gritted his teeth. "Lunatic," Tyler said smugly. "Don't try to scare me. Even if I lie in that coffin, you won't dare kill me." He was right, there hadn't been a murder in the village in years, and most folks worked in town and knew full well that killing was illegal. Grandpa frowned. "Tyler, you can't control him. He can't survive without blood. If you push him, he'll go find it himself." Tyler's face was cold. "Uncle, what are you even talking about? I don't understand." Grandpa gave him a look, then turned to the villagers. "Everyone reinforce and raise the thresholds at home. While it's still daylight, we need to find Kyle." The villagers all nodded. Grandpa led the way down the mountain, the villagers trailing behind. Larry asked, "Uncle, what about John? His body's still in the yard." Grandpa said, "There's no time. We have to find Kyle first." The villagers searched every house and scoured the area near the river, but Kyle was nowhere to be found. As night approached, Grandpa said, "Everyone stay sharp tonight. If anything happens, shout out loud." The villagers nodded and soon dispersed. We returned home. Grandpa reinforced and raised the threshold at the gate again. Night fell quickly. Grandma locked the door to the east room and whispered, "Old man, do you think Kyle will come tonight?" Grandpa leaned against the kang and lit a pipe. "When I was little, I saw a walking corpse. Those things can't live without blood." Grandma frowned. You've seen one? How come I've never heard about this? Grandpa said. I was 6 back then. My grandpa wanted the courtyard that belonged to my second uncle's family, so he turned my great-grandma into a walking corpse. She bit my second uncle to death, and the yard ended up in my grandpa's hands. He only told me on his deathbed. Grandma frowned. That's wicked. Just as she said that, I heard a noise at the gate. Thud, thud, thud. Grandma's eyes widened. Kyle's here. Grandpa frowned, went to the window, and peeked outside. He saw a figure at the gate, holding an axe, chopping at our threshold. Grandpa panicked and shouted into the yard. You little bastard, just you wait. Then he jumped off the kang in a rush. Grandma and I chased after him. The figure saw Grandpa and bolted, disappearing into the night. Our threshold had been chopped in half. Grandma stomped, anxiously. Old man, what do we do? We don't have any spare wood. What about the threshold? Grandpa frowned, staring at the broken wood, deep in thought. After a while, he said, Old lady, don't panic. Let's go hide at Larry's for now. Grandma nodded. That's all we can do. So the few of us hurried over to Larry's place. Larry lived with just his father. He said, Uncle, I bet Tyler chopped your threshold. He's got a nasty streak and holds grudges. Grandpa frowned. I didn't get a good look. Larry's father coughed twice. Until we catch Kyle, the village won't know peace. He was in poor health and coughed up blood as he spoke. Grandpa said, Yeah, it's not safe. Larry's father coughed again. Back when we were kids, the village had walking corpses too. I never thought, decades later, it'd happen again. Just as he said that, I saw someone run into our yard shouting, Uncle, something terrible happened. My brother's dead. It was Evan's voice. Grandpa and Larry exchanged a look. Larry opened the door and waved him in. Come, tell us. Evan rushed in, blood all over his face and body. Grandpa asked, Evan, what happened? Evan dropped to his knees. My brother, my dad, bit him to death. Everyone in the room was stunned, eyes wide, except Grandpa, who looked calm, like he'd expected it. Grandpa asked, Evan, where's your dad? Evan sobbed. Uncle, I won't hide it anymore. My dad really wasn't buried. My brother turned him into a walking corpse. They wanted to take Uncle John's money, so they planned to kill my dad after. But he broke free from the chains and bit my brother to death. I was scared out of my mind and ran away. As soon as Evan finished speaking, Larry pointed at his nose and cursed, You bastard! Both you and your brother are scum dragging the whole village down with you. Tyler deserved to be bitten to death. Evan hung his head and said nothing. Grandpa said, Evan, get up. Evan held onto the kang and stood up. Grandpa said, Tyler's dead. Kyle won't show up again tonight. We'll check again in the morning. Evan nodded without speaking. The few of us spent the night at Larry's. Early the next morning, we went to Tyler's house. The courtyard was covered in blood. Tyler was already dead. There were 2 bloody holes in his neck. His face was ashen, body blackened, not a drop of blood left like a dried-up corpse. Tyler died with his eyes open. Evan took a white cloth and covered his body. We kept my dad chained up in the storage shed, he said. The villagers crowded in. The shed was large, with 2 thick iron chains hanging from the beam. The floor was soaked with black blood, the smell of blood thick in the air. Grandpa said, Tyler died horribly, with eyes wide open. I'm worried he might turn into a corpse too. We'd better bury him quickly while it's still daylight. Some young men carried Tyler into the coffin. No altar or offerings, just straight to the back mountain to be buried. Seeing Tyler's gruesome death, the villagers were all on edge. Grandpa said, Don't panic. Let's search everywhere. If we still can't find him, we'll lure him out. Larry asked. Uncle, how do we lure him? Grandpa said, the living dead can't live without blood. Use a living person as bait. The moment he said that, the villagers all gasped. Larry squinted and patted Evan on the shoulder. If we can't catch Kyle, we'll use you as bait. You and your brother started this. Evan frowned. No way, I can't. He was trembling, legs weak from fear. Grandpa said, enough. Let's just find Kyle first. The villagers searched everywhere, front mountain, back mountain, through the whole village, but Kyle was nowhere to be seen. As dusk approached, Grandpa said, the women and children go home and hide. The men stay with me at the village entrance to lure Kyle out. Grandma frowned. Old men, be careful. Grandpa nodded. Don't worry. Go on home. Grandma sighed and took me back. We soon arrived. As soon as we entered the yard, Grandma locked the gate. Luke, go inside. I'm heading to the outhouse. I nodded and walked toward the east room. Just as I reached the door, I heard a loud bang from the shed. I turned and glanced at the shed. The door was slightly ajar. Grandma came out of the outhouse and asked, Luke, why haven't you gone in? What are you looking at? I said. I heard a sound from the shed. Her face turned grim. Just a rat. Get inside. After she spoke, she pushed me into the house and locked the east room door. I noticed her face looked a bit off. I asked, Grandma, what's wrong? She whispered, Luke, don't make a sound. It was already dark outside. As soon as she said that, we heard two soft tap-tap sounds from the shed, like something was moving inside. I looked at Grandma, confused. She covered my mouth, signaling me to be quiet. Tap-tap. Again. The sound was close, like it was just outside the door. Then a voice came from outside. Third brother's wife. Is Third home? My threshold's broken. I'd like to stay in your house for the night. It was Larry's father's voice. Grandma breathed a sigh of relief and took her hand off my mouth. Second brother. Third isn't home. I'll open the door for you. Outside. Larry's father laughed. All right, thank you. I'm useless these days, can't help with anything. Just a burden. Grandma opened the east room door. Come in, second brother. Larry's father's face was pale and dark, his expression lifeless. He nodded and smiled. Thanks. He lifted his foot to enter, but like he couldn't see the threshold, he kept tripping over it, his foot thudding against the wood. Grandma's expression changed instantly. She stepped back instinctively. Larry's father gave a dry laugh. I'm old. My eyes aren't what they used to be. Can't see the threshold clearly. Third brother's wife, why don't you help me in? As he said that, he glanced at me, throat bobbing like he was swallowing hard. Grandma asked, Second brother, how did you get into our yard? Larry's father replied, I came in during the day, wanted to borrow a shovel from Third, but no one was home. So I looked in the shed myself and accidentally fell asleep. When I woke up, it was dark. Our shed had no threshold. Grandma forced a laugh. Second brother, could you grab the shovel from the shed? I'll remove the threshold so you can come in. Larry's father nodded and turned toward the shed. Grandma took the chance, slammed the door shut, and locked it. Luke, climb up to the rafters, she said. Why? I asked. She stomped anxiously. Just do it! She lifted me up toward the beams. Just then, Larry's father's voice came from outside. Third brother's wife. I got the shovel. Open up. Grandma didn't respond. She stood on a stool, lifting me high. I climbed up with great effort. Her palms were drenched in sweat. Outside, Larry's father called again, his tone impatient. Third brother's wife, open the door. When she still didn't respond, he started kicking the threshold. The sound sent chills down my spine. Grandma called, "Second brother, don't rush." I'm opening it, but he lost all patience and kicked hard. Bang! Bang! Then a sudden crash. The door burst open. At that moment, a chill ran down my back. Larry's father stood in the doorway, face deathly pale, no sign of life. He spoke in a low, grim voice. "Third brother's wife, help me inside." He reached out. His hand looked like a dried black branch. When Grandma didn't move, his face twisted. He clawed at the air, snarling. "Third brother's wife, come help me." Grandma frowned. "Second brother, you're not alive. You're already dead. You can't come in." At her words, he roared, "Liar!" His eyes bulged like they were about to fall out, terrifying. Grandma continued, "You've got a bloody hole on your head. You died when you fell in this shed. If you don't believe me, touch it yourself." He pointed at her. "Liar!" Grandma's hands were shaking, but she forced herself to sound calm. "Go ahead, touch it." I'd heard from the elders when facing a walking corpse, make it realize it's dead. Once it knows, the evil leaves. Larry's father's face changed. He reached up and touched his head. His hand came away bloody. His eyes widened in horror. His body convulsed, and with a thud, he collapsed backward. Blood tears flowed from his eyes. His face was frozen in terror, like he'd been scared to death. Grandma quickly lit 3 sticks of incense, placing them in his mouth. Only when they finished burning did his eyes finally close. Grandma exhaled in relief, her forehead drenched in sweat. She shut the wooden door. She collapsed onto the kang. "Luke, stay on the rafters. Don't come down." Time passed. Eventually, dawn broke. Grandma took me to the village entrance. There we saw Evan hanging from a willow tree, already dead. 2 bloody holes in his neck. It was clearly Kyle again. Everyone stood in silence. Grandpa's face was grim. "Evan's been bitten. Kyle's escaped." As he spoke, I saw blood dripping from his wrist. He was wounded. Grandma frowned at the injury. "Old man, something happened. Larry's father came last night and died right at our door. We have to bury him fast." At her words, Larry's eyes widened, and he ran toward our house. The villagers followed in a rush. With so many deaths in just a few days, everyone was terrified. After burying Evan and Larry's father, Grandpa sat on a stool, smoking his morning pipe, eyes red. Our yard was full of villagers. "Uncle, what do we do now?" they asked. Grandpa frowned. "Tonight, I'll lure Kyle. When you see him, hold him down and burn him." The villagers all nodded. "If there's nothing else, head home. Be at the village entrance tonight," Grandpa said. The villagers dispersed. Blood still dripped from his wrist, but he seemed numb, like he didn't feel a thing. "Old man, bandage your hand," Grandma said. Grandpa shook his head. He got up and prepared the donkey cart. "Old woman, take Luke to the city. Stay a few days. The farther you go, the better. Don't ever come back." "What do you mean?" she asked. "Just go," he barked. "Last night, during the attempt to catch Kyle, most of the villagers got hurt. You two need to leave." His eyes turned blood, red, gleaming with something eerie. He lifted me onto the cart, then pushed Grandma up. "Get as far away as you can." Grandma's eyes were red, tears brimming. "Old man," she choked, unable to finish. The tears streamed down her cheeks. Grandpa's eyes were red too, but he said nothing. He whipped the donkey hard. Grandma led me out of the yard. As the cart rolled away, I looked back. Grandpa's eyes were hollow. Grandma told me to bow to him 3 times. I knelt on the cart and did as she said. The cart was slow, and Grandma kept urging it on. We lived close to the village entrance and soon entered the mountains. We crossed 2 peaks and rode all night to reach the city. Grandma took me in and we never went back. Later, I heard that no one in our village survived. The whole place was deserted. I never saw Grandpa again.